name?
Georgine.
You are
Georgine, the last
Georgine,
one.
the last.
This, we call this annulment coercion. This mental reaction at birth makes for the newborn the non-human world, perceived as aggressive, disappear. But at the same time, it creates the human mind with the capability to imagine. This mental reaction is the matrix of creativity, a mental mechanism, an activity of thinking which makes something disappear in order to mentally create something different. We can imagine that an artist or a creative person, for example, can make something old or nasty disappear by mentally creating something very new and creating it to realize it concretely after forming the creation as an act of thinking. Originally present in everyone at birth, the capability to imagine develops in every individual and can eventually produce artwork or creative products, scientific work, architecture, etc. This allows us to distinguish the mental isolation of the artist during a creative process from the output of a mentally ill person. The artist can make a new world appear, precisely because a dry dynamic called disappearing trends makes the previous world disappear in the mind and allows for the creation of something new. This mechanism, in fact, is a recreation of a mental dynamic happening at birth, naturally and in everyone. Creativity is not something abnormal, but profoundly human, and people have naturally tried to express some kind of creativity since cave-dwelling times. On the contrary, in madness, pathological mechanism makes human reality disappear. This is due to a partial non-conscious reaction of annulment that determines the loss of original healthy state of mind. At the moment of creation, artists are not mad. They, as all other humans, can become ill, but they are not mad when they find the universality typical for an artwork. The artist is working arrives at their origin, that is physiological healthy. To make art, we have to abandon our conscience, leave the world of profit for the unprofitable world. Art is not necessary for survival. To survive, it's enough to eat, drink, and sleep, and be in an environment with the right condition. The same as a cat needs to survive. Instead, by making the unconscious world material, we do need art to live as human beings.
Thank you. Good statement concerning this.
Yes, this book is from the author of Human Birth Theory that is on the basis of these and other papers.
So we can distribute?
Yes, so everybody can have it.
If you brought it from Italy.
Yes.
will not take it back. No, with you. Would be very sad. Very sad to take it back.
And in, one of the things that we can find here is that the creativity is a human dimension, not something that is from God. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
When you talk about art, you maybe talking about, well, there's Shakespeare. But there's a lot of writers that have been depressed at the time that they're writing. And you mentioned that at that time they're not mad, they're being psychotic, but they're suffering mental illness. and it's like you're saying that there's a moment of abstraction where you separate from reality, but at the same time you're connected in creating art. How can you explain a little bit more about that theory?
Because yes, for example, everybody when I talk about art and mental illness talk about Van Gogh or something like this. But I believe that there is a big difference between the art made by mental illness patients and the art made of a real artist as Van Gogh. Van Gogh, when he's painting one of his most famous work, everything he had done is not mad. Because he finds something that is an image. If you are, if you see the production of a mental person, you don't find anything. For example, there are so many psychiatric works about this. For example, I try to study this activity of schizophrenic patient. And if you really see them, you'll find that there is a loss of something, not a creation of something. For example, in some painting there is the figure that is pragmatic, or is a mixture of nothing that it's okay. Okay.
I would like to leave space for other questions.
No, I didn't work with with art. I think that art must be divided from methods. Okay, they are the opposite. One.
I would like just to add, concerning your question, that when Van Gogh was psychotic, he was not productive. And he wrote a letter to his brother, Theo, saying, the only thing I can do when I am psychotic is to paint other paintings of my colleagues like Monet and others. I can only copy. I cannot produce by myself.
I fully agree about that. And actually, you're helping with my presentation that is about Van Gogh and Dali. Because what also Van Gogh said was he had periods of depression where his production was very low, and then he had periods of hyperproduction where he would do a lot of things at the same time. But he was not psychotic at the time. I agree with that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now it's me. Now it's you. So we have Dr. Gomez Chamorro from Chile, who will present his